No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Minuk. With Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell, here to discuss another Winnipeg Jets victory. This one coming in overtime by a 3-2 margin over the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Jets extend the winning streak to 4 games in a row, 7-2-1 in their last 10. And what are we up to now? Someone remind me, is it points in 11 of their last 13? If I'm not mistaken, something along those lines. It's hard to keep track now. That's, I guess, a good sign if you're a fan of the Winnipeg Jets. With the victory tonight, they move into second spot in the Central Division, a point behind the Dallas Stars. Of course, lots of hockey still to be played tonight and a very busy pre-Thanksgiving Wednesday on the NHL calendar. There's our buddy Joe Pascucci. He's in the chat. He's ready in the bullpen just in case. Joe, be careful what you wish for. You never know when we might have to call you up.
Joe's done more shows than Drew this year.
Well, as he throwing the barbs at me already, and the irony of that comment, of course, is I'm not going to be here on Friday either, but I'll be back.
That's why Joe's waiting in the bullpen, like he said in the chat.
Exactly. Tap in the lefty. I'm not sure if Joe's a lefty or not, or if he's a righty, but tap him in and he can join us. Good to see both of you gentlemen. It sort of feels like this was just like the Jets coming off their bye week. It's been this odd sort of, big lull in games since Saturday. Obviously, with no games Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're not used to that kind of sort of random mid-November break in the schedule, but it is nice to see both you gentlemen to talk about tonight's Jets Tampa Bay Lightning game. Ezzy, how are things in your world?
Good. It was just a good hockey game. That's all that was, right? Like it was just a good skating back and forth hockey game, lots of chances. And Connor Hellebuck was excellent. I thought Jonas Johansson was also very good. Mm-hmm. And, Adam Lowry, the not so unlikely hero in overtime. So I think that, you got to give the Jets a lot of credit because they were pretty sluggish through parts of that second and third period. I think we would probably give the Jets the advantage in the first period, even though the Lightning had some good chances that Hellebuck stopped as well, right? You think of the Brandon Hagel breakaway and the Nikita Kucherov. Was it Kucherov or Hagel? I forget who had the breakaway. I think it was Hagel.
Hagel had the breakaway.
Yeah, and then Kucherov had the really good chance. And Kucherov was excellent all night long. And, I kept thinking about this Tampa Bay team and all the players that they've lost over the years. Yeah. And that's still a really good hockey team. Like not just, Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, Hedman, Vasilevsky, obviously when he's healthy, but even guys like Anthony Cirelli and Mikhail Sergachev. I thought even Tyler Mott looked good in this game. So, it was kind of a little bit slower for the Jets offensively in the second and third periods, but they stuck with it and the captain got the winner. So the Jets, as you mentioned off the top, Drew, they just keep rolling.
I think, Dave, it's safe to say that any concern about Connor Hellebuck has now been put to bed after he had the sluggish start to the season, but this is another one of those games today that, if it wasn't for Connor Hellebuck, particularly, certainly as you mentioned the save off Brandon Hagel early in the game, and then in the second and third period, I thought Connor Hellebuck certainly was a key contributor to the Winnipeg Jets victory tonight. We know that the Lightning handily won the possession battle in tonight's game. They handily won the expected goals. They handily won the high danger chances, but they ultimately didn't win the game, and Connor Hellebuck deserves a solid amount of credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to want the Jets to backtrack and lose all their 5-on-5 play, the effective 5-on-5 play, because they're like, oh, well, Hellebuck's back, so now we don't have to worry about it. And I think you're right, though, Drew. I mean, Connor Hellebuck for most of this evening, and he made a number of significant saves throughout the course of this game. And it was necessary. I mean, it was a really good hockey game. I actually thought, I said, when I tweeted, I said the truth is, there Kenny KWB is liking my Mindell tweet, my Mindell mimicking from last week. But we'll see if I can do it again tonight. We'll see if I'm inspired. But no, I was going to say this is one of those games. I thought actually both teams kind of deserved a point because I thought that there was a lot of good things from both. I thought there were a lot of chances that either team could have won that game in the third period, and ultimately, again, they'll each take a point, and of course, the Jets will take 2 points and run to Sunrise to play at, I don't remember the name of the arena. It's a new name now. I saw one of the Boston writers who think the Bruins are in Florida tonight. They said they keep changing the name of the arena, so it's on its like 100th name or something like that. But regardless of what the new name of, no, I know, but regardless of what it's called, I think the Jets will take those 2 points and run because, it was a good game overall. And yes, Connor Hellebuck was excellent.
Yeah, Connor, Ezzy, I think you said it. You said it right yourself. This was just an entertaining hockey game. By and large, this was just a well-played hockey game. The Tampa Bay Lightning, as you said, Ezzy, we know how many guys they've lost off their roster, and we know that they're still without Andrei Vasilevsky, and he's set to come back sooner rather than later, maybe next week, or certainly within the next couple weeks is what they're expecting. For the record, the new arena in Florida, or the arena in Florida, is now called the Amerant Bank Arena. So there you go, in case you were keeping track at home. But, this Tampa Bay Lightning team, they're still a damn good hockey team. Their record might not be, what where we're used to seeing them. They're not on top of the Atlantic Division because the Bruins are there, but they're still a third place team. It's still a playoff team. They're ahead of the Maple Leafs right now in that Atlantic Division. Anytime you can go into Tampa, it's a good win, but this was a really entertaining hockey game. These were two teams with a lot of talent and a lot of skill. But, what's jumped out at me regarding the Jets over the last couple of games, and these are games that they've won. So this is, this isn't criticism, but this is just what I'm observing. They had the depth to withstand losing one forward. I don't know that they could withstand the depth of losing two forwards for a long period of time, that being Velarde and Kupari. So I think it's a very good thing that Gabe Velarde is set to return to the Jets lineup sooner rather than later. We don't know if it's for sure going to be on this road trip, but I think it's only a matter of, a game or two now until he's set to return to the lineup. And I think you'll start seeing the Jets. I think this recent, I'm going to describe it as an on-ice backslide a little bit at 5-on-5. I think that'll be mitigated by having Velarde back and then, of course, getting that improved depth to your forward group again.
Yeah, I think the Jets would have a lot more problems, Drew, if it was a top six forward. Like, all due respect to Rasmus Kupari, he's pretty replaceable, right? Like, no goals, 1 assist in 15 or 16 games, right? And I'm not saying that he wasn't a useful player and he hasn't been impressive as a Jet, right? Like, just offensively, he doesn't bring, or at least he hasn't executed at the level that you would like to see on the fourth line. And David Gustafsson has done an admirable job, right? He had a good scoring chance in the third period in this game. Morgan Barron had a good scoring chance and limited ice time. I actually thought the fourth line was pretty good. And Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, I think, is perfectly capable. What I'm saying is, I don't think the drop-off from Kupari to a guy like Jonsson-Fjällby or David Gustafsson or Dominic Toninato is that big. But your point is well taken. A thing that hasn't been talked about a lot this year, guys, is Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti have played every single game, right? Sure. Like, and that going into the season, that was something we were talking about. Perfetti missed 30 games. Ehlers missed, what did he miss? 25 games, 30 games last year. He might have missed more. So, in the top six, you've only lost Velarde, but I know what you're saying. I think, in this particular game, this wasn't the best game for the Lowry line. Obviously, Lowry scores the OT winner, but I think you guys would agree, like, Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter didn't have, a ton of scoring chances or sustained pressure. It was the Scheifele line and then obviously the Nemesnikov line that was driving the bus offensively. And you expect that. And you expected, the Lowry line to cool down, right, Dave? Like, they were so red hot, earlier, a couple of weeks ago. You can't expect Niederreiter to score a hat trick every game like he did against Arizona, right? So I agree with you, though, Drew. Velarde is coming back at the perfect time. And, we'll see if he goes back on the top line with Scheifele and Connor. But Scheifele and Connor, to me, like, there's a lot of similarities between, and Tampa Bay happens to have 3 of these guys where I don't know if you could say that, but like Kucherov and Point, the Jets can counter that with Scheifele and Connor. And I think what you saw in this game, the reason why it was such an entertaining game is because you're seeing both of these lines at their best. Entering this game, the Lightning had won 3 in a row, the Jets had won 3 in a row, and Kucherov and Connor are both right up there in the Rocket Richard race.
Yeah, they're both, look, all 4 of those guys you just mentioned are exquisite talents. I think I would still lean towards, the Tampa Bay duo more than the Jets duo, but it's not, it's not a huge gap between the two or anything along those
lines. Not the way Scheifele's playing this year, Drew.
No,
I think last year you could say that there was, a bigger gap, but like I got to give Scheifele credit. Like he has since he has played well in all 18 games. Like he has, and I'm not being sarcastic. Obviously, there have been better games than others, but like he has from the first game against Calgary. He has been excellent for the Jets on that top line. He's been engaged. And his give a damn factor has been high all season long. And Kyle, look, neither of those guys are going to be defensive stalwarts. Now, Scheifele is probably playing some of the better defensive hockey in the last number of years, but that might be damning with faint praise as well. And I'll give credit to Dave on this one. Dave is the one who said, and he said it in the offseason, he said that once Scheifele signs a contract, and we were all surprised it ended up being here in Winnipeg. But Dave was the one who said that, and you probably said it towards the end of last year as well, and in the offseason, Dave, that once Scheifele gets that contractual situation resolved, wherever it gets resolved and whenever it gets resolved, you thought that you'd see a more defensively responsible Mark Scheifele. And so far, I mean, he's not going to be a Selke winner, but I think that you've been proven accurate with that comment.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that there was a chance that he would know that he doesn't have to worry about that. And again, now he gets to focus on his legacy and trying to do something that's never been done in this city before. And again, I mean, he'll be immortalized most likely regardless.
What's that, Dave?
Well, they've won championships before.
Yeah, the Victorias. It's been a while.
Or WHA, or as Drew just said.
Yeah, I had to check you there.
Yeah,
because the Winnipeg team has won the Stanley Cup.
That's true, but it's been a long time. So that was Ezzy. That was back when
I don't even say it. I know exactly where you're going with this.
I know you know it, but I want to make sure the chat knows and the folks listening on the podcast, of course. Hello to you. But
Drew's going to give us a breakdown of the Great Depression at the end of the show.
I thought that was this show. I thought that was the whole point. Anyways, look,
that's actually my friendship with Drew. He calls it the Great Depression.
I call it the worst mistake of my life, is what I call it. That's led to the Great Depression. It's a two-step domino.
My point is, boys, is that Mark Scheifele is doing what I thought he would do. I thought he would really be focused on trying to get this team to that next level, and again changing his game, much like his idol Steve Yzerman. And I know he gets a little tired hearing it, but it's the truth. Like Yzerman changed his game, and again, Yzerman had a phenomenal supporting cast in Detroit, but he had to change his game from being high offense all the time to someone who played a little bit more defensively. And Mark Scheifele, he knows that in order to win championships, and that seems to be the mantra, right? That's the mantra of this coaching staff. You hear it from Scott Arniel all the time. We heard it from Rick Bowness all the time. So that's what they want to do. They want to play a tighter defensive game. And look, is Kyle Connor going to be, like I jokingly tweeted today, Kyle Connor is allergic to playing defensive hockey, but made a hell of a play on that back check to prevent that breakaway, shorthanded breakaway. But I mean, ultimately, Mark Scheifele knows that in order for him to be able to get that next level, he's got to change his game, and we're seeing it, right? He's still getting points. Like, he still leads his team, or he's tied. I should say, I think either tied or leading the team with 22 points. So I mean, I guess Connor has 23, Scheifele has 22. So he's right up there, and so you're still having offensive success, and your team again is playing better defensively as a whole, and with Connor Hellebuyck appearing to be the old Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, this team is rolling, and look, as you've said, Drew, you go 4-0-1 during that homestand. You win this game tonight.
4-1-0.
What did I say? 4-0-1? 4-1-0. Sorry. So you're 4-1-0 at home, and then you win this game tonight. So you've already made the road trip, a good start, and now you just have to go into Florida and keep that rolling. But we'll see what they are able to do. But it definitely starts with the way, as he said, with the way 37 played tonight.
I want to give a shout out to, obviously we're going to be talking about a lot of players who had good games, right? Like we've already talked about Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey. I thought Nate Schmidt maybe had his best game of the year, right? Like, and I realized that, he didn't have any points, I don't believe. No, but I think he played around 15 minutes. With Sandberg.
Played 14 minutes exactly.
Yeah, so 14 minutes, and I just liked his game. Like I just thought he, his positioning was good. He was making the quick reads and the quick passes out of his own zone. Like that's the thing that I think, Dave, you would agree, right? Like when Nate Schmidt gets into a little bit of trouble when he's turning the puck over or forcing things, right? So I just wanted to get that in there. For a guy that was a healthy scratch, a few games ago, Logan Stanley comes in. I thought Schmidt was good. Like, right, he got a little bit of power play time. That's the other thing, boys. Like, there were 3 power plays in this game, 2 power play goals. That's what you like to see. Like, I love that type of hockey that where 90% of the game is 5-on-5, and so that, I mean, you don't want to say it had a playoff feel, but that's the type of game that you want, right? Like, there are some games that are 3-2 and that are really boring. That was not one of them.
No, this was high event hockey played by 2 very skilled teams, and I think everybody was entertained by tonight's game, and most people would say that win or lose, regardless of what the result would have been in overtime. Yes, David?
Well, no, I was just going to say it's funny because Mitch Clinton, who works, is the color broadcaster with our friend Paulie Edmonds on the radio side.
And Dave, fellow Creecom grad.
Fellow Creecom grad with Ezzy.
One of them did something with their life, and I don't want to say which one it is.
Well, obviously it's Ezzy, Drew. So anyways, the point is that
Mitch has me there.
But Mitch was talking to Scott O'Neill today in the pregame, in the following morning skate. And he said it's interesting. It was a curious comment, but I made me think about all the games. Even though these teams only play each other twice a year, they have had a level of intensity that you are unexpected. It's not like you see this when the Jets play Carolina or when the Jets play, I don't know, insert Eastern team that you don't see very often here.
The Islanders.
Sure. Yeah. Islanders is a great example, but for whatever reason, the games against Tampa always seem to be good ones. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And then tonight it was proved to be right because it was a fantastic hockey game.
That it was. Probably likely due to the skill that's on the ice when these 2 teams meet each other. But tonight certainly was an entertaining game. Why don't we get into it? We'll go goal by goal as we do on each and every edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's brought to you by our friends of Betway, of course. This is the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway, longtime supporters of this Illegal Curve post-game show. Betway is one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Please, please, please play responsibly, especially with it being U.S. Thanksgiving Thursday. I know there's a lot of betting opportunities midday tomorrow with all the NFL games, and we're not going to say don't bet, but we're going to say bet responsibly, and that's what our friends at Betway would likewise say.
You guys having turducken at the Mindell household?
Not tomorrow. There won't be a turducken tomorrow, but there will be a turkey later on Saturday. The wife has already started to prepare, and there's many different foods already underway for the big feast that'll be occurring on Saturday.
Okay, but hold on. I got to ask you a question because Laura, of course, is American from the great state of Kentucky.
It's the Commonwealth.
Does she find it weird? Sorry, the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I should have learned my lesson.
You did, exactly.
But it is a state as well, though.
Yes, but go on.
Does she find it weird that Canadians call it American Thanksgiving?
Well, no. I mean, she understands that for Canadians, why would they call it Thanksgiving? We have our own Thanksgiving.
No. Not from our perspective, but like for Laura, it's just Thanksgiving, right? So like they don't, in the US, they don't call it American Thanksgiving, or they don't know. Let's be honest, they don't know that we
is this like a corollary of in China? Do they call it Chinese food? No, they just call it food. Is that where you're sort of going with that?
I did unmute.
No, I wasn't hating you. I just thought if she thought it was weird that we always refer to it as Canadian Thanksgiving and American Thanksgiving, because for her it's just Thanksgiving, so she doesn't. Anyways.
I'd like to apologize to all our listeners for having to listen to that, because I really
don't know dumber from having listened to that.
May God have mercy on all of us for that. If
there's any leftover stuffing, just put it on the front porch, and I'll come pick it up.
Well, as we've well documented, as you're not allowed on my property, but if you drive by at a fast rate of speed from my upstairs window, maybe I'll slingshot it and try and get it through your car window at the same time.
That's weird, Dave. Like, I didn't really think that Drew needed an electric fence, but here we are.
The Jets open the scoring at the 5:29 mark of the first period. Josh Morrissey gets his 3rd of the year. Assist to Dylan DeMello and Nikolai Ehlers, and it's a real nice play by Ehlers to sort of take the time and space that he is given. And I think he was sort of surprised at the time and space. He's like, okay, I'll go a little bit into a better area. And then he finds DeMello, and DeMello with the shot, and the big rebound gets kicked out to Josh Morrissey. And what I really like about this goal from Morrissey's perspective, this is a much harder play by Morrissey than it looks like sort of at first glance. First of all, he's not on his strong side. He's on his weak side and trying to shoot this puck. And it's very much in his skates. So it's sort of an awkward shot that he has to try and release quickly. And the skill level it takes in order to do what he did to get this puck past Jonas Johansson and in the net is pretty high, that you might not necessarily look and see at first glance on this goal. But I really liked Josh. I liked the entire effort by everybody involved with this Jets opening goal, Ezzy.
Yeah, well, boys, you could say that, it was a big, juicy rebound that Jonas Johansson gives up, but also Josh Morrissey comes from the point and he puts himself in a position where, it's the perfect position for the rebound, right? So, yeah, Dylan DeMello yellow, he puts the puck on the net, and, it's the Ehlers, as you mentioned, it was Nick Paul that was defending him. I really like Nick Paul. That's the thing. Like, again, we already talked about, how many superstar players the Lightning have. I mean, even though they've lost a lot of their depth. But I mean, would anybody be shocked if the Lightning won a round this year, or maybe even 2 rounds? Like, I don't think anybody thinks they're necessarily a Stanley Cup contender. But
there's no reason why
they're doing this.
Remember, without although he might be back next week.
That's what Drew said. Drew mentioned that earlier. So you're right though, Dave. Like, I think this team is absolutely going to be a playoff team. I just don't know, but again, if you get into the playoffs. But anyways, on this goal, Drew mentioned it. Ehlers, just, Nick Paul is a good defensive forward. And, Nick Ehlers he hangs onto the puck. And, Nick Paul is with him, but he hangs on just long enough. And, the Lightning are scrambling a little bit. And really, I mean, just good on DeMello for putting the puck on the net, but horrible rebound management by Johansson, who I thought was pretty good in this game. But again, credit to Josh Morrissey, who was at the point left, kind of sneaks behind everybody, Dave, and, gets in a perfect position, to put that rebound. And so I agree with Drew there. It was just a really highly skilled goal. You love to see all that movement in the Lightning zone by the Jets.
Well, and as I just want to jump on here and say that the play that I thought deserved highlighting was also what Nikolai Ehlers chose not to do, which was to take an ineffective shot from 20 feet away that was going to end up, smothered. And instead, he had a little bit of a lane to go, but he saw that, it would quickly collapse. He wouldn't be able to get into that, into the house. So what does he do? He wheels over and sees DeMello and creates some time and space. So to me, the Ehlers heads upness there was really a real smart play to know when to shoot, because, it's funny because what it was, one of the things Scott Arniel was talking about was how he wanted Nikolai Ehlers to shoot more. But to me, it's like, and you could shoot more for a rebound. And again, you talk about rebound control, and that was obviously one of the things that they were talking about on the broadcast tonight. But for me, Nikolai Ehlers choosing not to shoot, but instead to find DeMello, to use his wheels to create some space, and then to find DeMello, really smart play by 27. And obviously he made some neutral zone errors throughout the game, a little bit later in the game. But I thought that was a really smart play, and he got the Jets the early goal and that early momentum.
Yeah, early goal, early momentum. We can't gloss over, and we did mention it before, the Connor Hellebuyck glove save off of Brandon Hagel on the breakaway, and then certainly
the Kucherov shot first.
Right.
It was like within 30 seconds, right? They had the Kucherov one-timer, which he made a beautiful kick save on, and then within 15 seconds later, he makes the breakaway save on Hagel. So Connor Hellebuyck, Drew, was phenomenal in this game.
He certainly was, especially early on in that first period.
He was quietly phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like he was just making like really difficult saves, Dave. They made look routine, right? So good on him. He was really good tonight. And I agree, like those shots earlier in the game are just as important as the saves that he made in the second and third periods, right? So I don't think anybody's going to say he stole that game, but he was definitely better than Johansson.
Well, then that's what you'd expect him to be. I mean, I think there was a tweet, and I can't remember if it was when Johansson was in Colorado or when he was with Buffalo, but there was a beat writer who said he was the worst goalie he's ever seen in his life. Just saying that the guy never made a save in a game, and he never made a save in a practice. I can't remember if it was when he was in Colorado or if he was in Buffalo. Somebody online can find it for me.
He's found his game in Tampa Bay. Like his numbers aren't. I think he's got 8 wins. Yeah, like his save percentage is like 899 or something, or heading into the game. But good on him. That's not an easy situation, right? Because it's not like you're just being asked to play more games. You're being asked to play like 3/4 of the games, and he's held the fort down. And like we said earlier, Vasilevsky is going to come back, but the Lightning are in a playoff position, pardon me, at American Thanksgiving. And as we know, I mean, it's a lot easier to make the playoffs when you're already in a playoff spot. So give Johansson a lot of credit for just kind of, steadying the ship while Vasilevsky's out.
Yeah, look, nobody in Tampa expected to have to play the first quarter of the season with Jonas Johansson and Matt Tompkins as your two goaltenders, and they've actually done a very admirable job in keeping the Lightning above water and waiting for their all-world goaltender to get healthy, which should happen any time now, is what the Lightning are expecting. So 1-0 early on for the Jets. They make it 2-0. Little less than 8 minutes later, it's on the power play. It's Mark Scheifele getting his 7th of the year, assist to Josh Morrissey and Kyle Connor. Power play success for the Jets is certainly a good thing. You like how they move the puck around. There's a shot on goal. They gather up the rebound. Iafallo doesn't get credit for a point on this one, but he's actively involved in feeding it to Connor, back to Morrissey, and then Mark Scheifele with the high slot tip, Dave, and it eludes Johansson to give the Jets a 2-0 lead a little more than halfway through the first period.
And what was it we were talking about? The Jets' power play was being predictable because it was slow. And now you're moving it a little bit more quickly and you're having success. And so it's what we expected, right? The Jets have too much talent, with this power play, both units really, to not have success. So for them, they're finding it, they're feeling good. And again, a really nice play by Mark Scheifele. He's got such unbelievable hands that, he tips that puck beautifully, and there's not much chance in terms of stopping it. So, I mean, the Jets find themselves up 2-0, and their momentum is going because, again, that was a really back and forth throughout the course of that hockey game. So they scored, and you're like, okay, are the Jets going to press? And they did to a certain degree, but Tampa pushed back. And again, Connor Hellebuck was excellent, but then they have a 2-0 lead, and you're like, okay, how are the Jets going to handle having, as Don Cherry would call it, the worst lead in hockey? Usually that's after their, the first period or second period, but ultimately it's 2-0, and you're like, how are the Jets going to react? Because it's not like if you're Tampa, you couldn't feel like you were out of that hockey game at being down 2-0 because there's a lot of hockey game to go,
right?
But B, based on how they had been playing, and I thought both teams had. I mean, how many whistles were in that game?
Not many. It was a fast game. It was played, fast game.
And jumping ahead to the third period, there wasn't a whistle for 8 minutes and 35 seconds to start to the end. So to me, there was a lot of ebbs and flows. There was a lot of back and forth throughout that game, and so the Jets are up 2-0. They're feeling good because, again, the power play, which is an area we didn't think the Jets would struggle, obviously had a lot of struggle, like the penalty kill earlier in the season.
I mean, to your point, Dave,
I was just going to say quickly, Drew, that's not the spot that I think, is the best spot for Scheifele on the power play. I think you guys would agree, though, that you don't always and that's the key. I think what the point that Dave's trying to make is you're not seeing the same configuration from the first power play or second power play unit. And I still like Scheifele, to be by the goal line and kind of setting things up, in the quote unquote kind of Gretzky spot.
So obviously lower down in the lower down.
Exactly. Right. About. As opposed to, I guess, we could call that the bumper spot. Right. But I mean, that's a beautiful tip. Like that goal to me is like what you've seen Joe Pavelski do for the last, 15 years, right? Those types of tips. I actually thought Morrissey just, got it past Johansson. I didn't realize at first that Scheifele got a stick on it, but obviously on the replay and you could see it change directions. Right. Yeah. But I agree with Dave. I think the power play just doesn't look as predictable, right? Like they're not always just trying to find Kyle Connor, and Morrissey has become a master over the last few years at putting those pucks in the perfect spot. Like they practice this all the time. Dave knows this, right? Like that's just something these guys practice, and the execution there was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was very well done. 2-0 for the Jets at that point. Dave, to your point about the few whistles in tonight's game, from start to finish, including, of course, overtime, which adds, you know how they have to do it takes some time after the third ends until they actually drop the puck and everything else. 2 hours and 25 minutes.
Dry scrape.
Yeah, exactly. 2 hours and 25 minutes from the opening puck drop to the end of the game, and that's in real time. So that's a pretty fast game. To speaking to your point about the lack of whistles, the whistle went again at the 18:06 mark. This is on the power play. It actually went at the 17:25 mark as well. That's when they whistled Nate Schmidt to the penalty box for cross-checking. And then on the power play at the 18:06 mark, so a little less than a minute into the power play, it's a power play goal. Steven Stamkos, his 8th of the year, assist to Nikita Kucherov and Victor Hedman. And you can't talk about this goal without talking about the hobbled Mason Appleton, who almost immediately upon the power play takes a shot. Looks like it's sort of off the top of his foot, almost where the tongue of the skate is. Not a lot of protection there, and he was really struggling and couldn't get off the ice as the Lightning had control of the puck throughout this power play. And it's a seam pass, and I wonder, truth be told, I wonder if Connor Hellebuyck wants this one back, because he looks like he's in position here. It's a great shot by Stamkos, but I think more often than not, Hellebuyck does make this save because he's in position. He's anticipating the seam pass, which was successful but nonetheless, Stamkos is able to squeak it through Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, it's so hard though to.
I know.
I think you guys.
I'm not criticizing him for it. I just want to say that
not.
I think he probably thinks he should save that one.
Sure, and I mean, you could take it further and say, like, how many times has that exact goal been scored, right? Hedman to Kucherov to Stamkos on the power play. Like, honestly, like it's probably, I don't think it's in the hundreds, but I think we've seen that so many times. So Dave, you could easily say like, well, why don't the Jets see that coming, right? But you have to respect the other talented players that are on the ice, right? Like, it's not just Steven Stamkos' shot that you have to worry about. I don't know what Tampa Bay's power play was heading into this game, but I think it was top 10.
Fourth,
yeah, there you go. So it was fourth, right? So we talked about it earlier. There were only 3 power plays in this game, and there were 2 power play goals. So obviously, you knew that, Scott Arniel and John Cooper were saying before the game, right? Like, we don't want to take a lot of penalties. I think teams say that before every game, but especially against a Tampa Bay team that they're just so dangerous. So you're right. I mean, I think, Hellebuyck, if he's just a little bit quicker, but he was so good. We talked about it, the Brandon Hagel save, Nikita Kucherov had a couple of good scoring chances early in the game, and Hellebuyck stopped them. So even though I think, that's a goal that it's definitely, put it this way, Drew, that's a savable shot. It is, right? But I mean, it's a elite pass by Kucherov. And Stamkos, does he have the best shot of all time? If he doesn't, he has one of the best shots of all, one of the best, like, it's Brett Hull 2.0, right? Like, it is.
Yeah, I mean, Stamkos is still, even though he's getting up there in years, and he's now, he's still so tremendously talented, and he's also got that wily veteran knowledge in everything he does. So it's tremendous still to watch him operate at the high level that he does. But nonetheless, they cut the Jets lead in half. The Tampa Bay Lightning do. It's 2-1 for the Jets. This is after 20 minutes. A very entertaining 20 minutes indeed. The Lightning tie it up. This is coming at the 6:13 mark of the second period. After one of the more entertaining goal mouth scrambles you're going to see, right, Dave M? I'll get you to talk about it in a second. Just entertaining goal mouth scramble. This is right after the Lightning think they've tied it up, but the goal is rightfully disallowed for goaltender interference because the Lightning player, I believe it was Hagel, if I'm not mistaken, is fiddling with Connor Hellebuyck's pad in an inappropriate manner. Yeah, exactly.
How long did it take the officials though to make that call? It felt like it was 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's like you blew the whistle. So if anything, Dave, like by blowing the whistle, you can't allow that goal, but then they called it goalie interference, and it was I don't know what was going through your guys' minds, or people in the chat can chime in here, but I was thinking, like, John Cooper and the coaching staff must be thinking, like, do we want to, at this point in the game, right? It's kind of like near the midway point of the game. Do we want to give that Jets power play like another look? Because to me, that was very gray area goalie interference. Like, was the puck not just there and he kind of like pulled the puck behind the out of the pad? Like, you know what I mean? That's what was going through my mind. It just didn't seem like Tampa Bay wanted to take the risk of giving the Jets a power play if they were wrong.
Well, and credit to Dylan DeMello, who makes a nice play to slide the puck, because that puck is loose in between Connor Hellebuck's legs. He doesn't know where it is.
Right.
He slides it underneath him. So, because obviously he can't cover it and get a penalty, but good on him to at least get that underneath Hellebuck. And yeah, I'm with you, Ezzy. Like, I thought it was very unusual. Like, I was like, why is this taking so long? It's pretty clear that was, goalie interference, or the puck was covered already and there shouldn't have been. And it was weird because you're listening on the broadcast. It's one of those funny things that you're watching the game and you don't know what you're watching because it sounds different from the way they're describing on the broadcast. Because they made it sound like the puck was on Hellebuck, like on the back of Hellebuck's pads, not underneath him. So I'm like, what do they mean it's on Hellebuck? It was under Hellebuck. So a little unusual, but I really didn't think it was going to be a good goal. And I think John Cooper obviously made the right choice not to challenge it, because I think they would have lost that challenge and obviously been shorthanded. So definitely a bit of an unusual play, but yeah, I mean, nice credit to Dylan DeMello for the heads up thought to get that puck underneath his goaltender in a more secure manner.
So that goal doesn't count. The Lightning do tie it up, as I mentioned, mere minutes later. Braden Point, he gets his 8th of the year assist to Brandon Hagel. This after the goal mouth scramble where it looked like the Lightning were going to tie it up there. It was sheer chaos in and around, and the puck finally squeaks out from harm's way, at least what the Jets hope to be harm's way, towards the sideboards. The Jets aren't able to clear. Kyle Connor had maybe the best chance, but Brandon Hagel was so hard on him immediately that Connor is unable to do anything. The puck ends up coming to Braden Point, and he's all alone, and he just absolutely rifles the shot. I mean,
unbelievable.
It was.
I don't think we're going to give him the Seagram shot of the game, but that was an amazing shot.
Well, it is so in and out that, before Connor Hellebuck even has an opportunity to react. It was an incredible shot. A good reminder not to leave Point right, to leave him alone right in front of your goaltender, because even though he was in tight, I mean, that's the thing is he was in tight to Hellebuck too, and he was still able to do what he did in getting the puck beyond the Jets goaltender in a really just an incredible manner. So again,
people are just drooling over the shot right now. But Braden Point, like, that's the thing. Like, I hate to go back to this, but like, watch out for the Lightning. Like, again, in the Eastern Conference, like, we haven't even mentioned that. I don't think that the Jets are 5-0-1 now against the Eastern Conference. Like, the Jets are just dominating the Central Division and dominating their Eastern opponents right now.
The Eastern one is the bigger shocker, Ezzy, because they always have had problems with the East, right? The Central less so, but the East is definitely a bit of a surprise.
The only loss was to the Rangers, right? And that was that a shootout or overtime? I forget. Yeah, so they got a point in that game, right? But speaking of Braden Point, but I agree with Drew, though, that, like, Scheifele pushes the puck along the boards. Connor can't get it out. That was maybe, I mean, there weren't that many mistakes that the Jets made tonight. Like, I thought there were a couple of turnovers, like Nick Ehlers turning the puck over. I can remember
there are a couple turnovers he had in the middle frame.
I mean, I'm not saying that there weren't other turnovers, but turnovers that turned into goals for the Lightning, right? So that was just bad clearing, but also, yeah, I really like that play from Hagel to Point, but it's really all about that shot, because it didn't look like there was that much room. Hellebuck's 6'4", as we know, but that was just an elite shot.
Yeah, that was just an elite shot is exactly what it was. And it was a tremendous one and made it 2-2 at that point in time. So we've gone from Jets having a 2-0 lead to back to being even Steven after 40 minutes. And there was no scoring again in the third period. I thought the Jets were on their heels to start the third period, and Connor Hellebuck had to make a number of saves. There was, I think, the blocker save, and I can't remember who he made the blocker save on the Lightning player who had a really in tight chance. I don't know if it was one of their big names. I can't remember if it was Kucherov or I think it might have been Kucherov, but I could be wrong, admittedly, that it was a real nice blocker save because he was sort of all alone in the low slot and a real good scoring opportunity, and Hellebuck made a nice save there. I thought in the last 6 or 7 minutes of the third period, before both teams got real conservative, of course, to get the game into overtime so they could each earn the point, as so often happens, especially when you're playing a team from the other conference. But there was a period of time there in the towards the latter half of the third period where I thought the Jets maybe sort of found their game again. I think it was on that. It started with David Gustafsson. He had a real nice shift. Gustafsson, Barron, and AJF had a really nice shift. Morgan Barron had a chance on that shift as well. That's sort of where I thought the Jets maybe sort of were able to find their game again, Dave, and sort of just calm things down a little bit. Not that it had been sheer chaos or anything like that, but they were just, I thought that at that point in time, things maybe tipped a little bit into the Jets' favor.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair way of looking at it, Drew. And I agree with you in terms of the game management, because that was one of those games in years past that the Jets would have lost, with 30 seconds to go, 45 seconds to go. And you would have been like, that's a game that you expected OT, because it seemed like both teams, while they had chances, were managing it slightly and not pushing quite as hard and taking quite as many risks. Like I said, there were still a couple of opportunities for either team to have won it, but ultimately you felt like both teams knew we want to get that extra point. And coming into today's game, both the Jets and the Lightning were sitting with 22 points. So the Jets obviously have 24, the Lightning up to 23. But they're looking at and our friends at Betway, the odds were slightly in the favor of Tampa, not significantly, but ultimately that was it was an interesting play. And I agree with you, Drew. The Jets they'd been back on their heels, especially in that second period. In this third period, I mean, they outshot Tampa. I think at one point it was like 6-3 for the Jets. So they had a bit of an edge in terms of the shots. But I agree with you that they had been sitting back a little bit at points, and the Gustafsson line created a little bit of life, and that was a good thing. So it seems to be going well right now for the Jets.
Yeah, things are certainly going well for the Winnipeg Jets, and then in overtime it went even better. That's ends up being the game-winning goal, which simultaneously is also our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's, makers of fine liquor products such as this miniature bottle of Fireball that I always keep handy in case Ezzy gets out of line and I need a stiff drink in the middle of this post-game show.
I was going to say, you keep showing that little mini bottle of Fireball, Drew, but there's still booze in there. If that was at my house, it would be all gone.
Yeah, but this one's got a lot less booze in it there, Mr. Ginsburg. I got 3 lined up here just in case
go hard
I need
or go home, Drew.
I'm at home, so can I go hard and be at home at the same time?
Yeah.
Adam Lowry, he gets his third of the season. Neil Pionk and Vlad Nemesnikov get the assists. It is Vlad Nemesnikov's birthday, so we will wish him a happy birthday after he gets the secondary assist on this. This is Adam Lowry's first goal in 9 games, so it certainly comes at a very opportune time. Nemesnikov and Pionk, so Pionk feeds it across the ice to Adam Lowry, and he gets it just up enough and over the pad of Jonas Johansson, and the Jets walk out of Tampa with a 3-2 victory over the Lightning to start this 3-game Thanksgiving weekend road trip with a victory over a very talented Lightning squad.
Yeah, and Dave M called it the Mikey Esimont revenge game, but maybe it was the Vladislav Nemesnikov revenge game on his birthday, because of course he used to play for the Lightning, right? When Rick Bowness was a member of the Lightning coaching staff. But I love, I got to give again, we talked earlier about how Cole Perfetti and Nick Ehlers have remained healthy through the first 18 games, but another thing we talked about, and I don't know, if we should be patting ourselves on the back for, bringing these players up at the beginning
always
of the
year. Happy to, Ezzy. Always happy.
Yeah, you can always do the Barry Horowitz, Dave, as far as I'm concerned. But, we talked about Mason Appleton being a key player. He's elevated his game. And Neil Pionk has also elevated his game. And it's Victor Hedman who has the puck in the Jet zone. And Neil Pionk just has, he's just in good position, gets a little stick on it. And that's what causes the turnover. And Adam Lowry takes it in the Jet zone and obviously starts the play. And Nemesnikov does some great work there. And, Dave has talked about this. It's hard to imagine why Nemesnikov, has bounced around. I think he's played on 4 or 5 teams now in his NHL career. But, he's out there. The Scott Arniel and Rick Bowness previously, the coaching staff trusts him to be out there. And he draws a couple of Lightning. And, what that does is that creates some time and space for Neil Pionk to get the puck on net. And then Adam Lowry obviously is just in the right spot. He's not covered. So I think Nemesnikov deserves a lot of credit, but Pionk deserves a lot of credit too, Dave, for causing that turnover, getting the stick on Victor Hedman there.
You mentioned, of course, sorry, Dave, it's the Esimont revenge game, but those guys were traded for each other.
Yeah.
If you remember, Esimont went from San Jose to Tampa for Nemesnikov. Then Nemesnikov went to Winnipeg for that 4th round pick. So there's certainly the ties recently between those two guys.
Yeah, no, and I just wanted to connect to the Seagram shot of the game, Drew, because I met with our friends from Seagram's today, and let's just say Dean provided me with a lot of Seagram's swag, a lot. So whenever you guys are coming to Illegal Curve events, and we've got one coming up in a few weeks,
December 7th. Mark it on your calendar.
Spency, if you're listening, we have a Seagram's thong waiting for you.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far, but we've got hats, we've got T-shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got jackets, we've got tons of things to give away. So I haven't even gone through it all, but thanks to Dean from Seagram's, we've got a lot to give to the folks who are watching this show, and we'll be wearing some ourselves, as he always likes to try some on. So we'll have some when we do this show. Maybe I'll throw the Seagram's jumpsuit on again, as like we did a couple times. But yeah, a lot of thanks to our friends at Seagram's for supporting this show and supporting all the folks who they want to give their gear to. So we'll have some fun stuff to give away coming up.
As Dave mentioned, so this is a good prelude or a good segue there, Thursday, December the 7th. So mark it on your calendars, folks. We've been talking about it, and you do this right. You can write it down and everything else. Thursday, December the 7th, which happens to be the first night of Hanukkah. So come celebrate Hanukkah with yours truly, Ezzy and Dave. We're at Boston Pizza Taylor.
Just pace yourself on the Jam Busters, Drew.
Pace yourself on the Jam Busters. Maybe we'll get the good folks at Boston Pizza. Cactus cut potatoes, I understand, can easily become potato latkes. So Thursday, December 7th, the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. We're hosting the watch party. We're hosting the live edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. So be sure to mark it on your calendars. Come join us. Drink specials, food specials, Illegal Curve giveaways. It's going to be a great night. So put that on your calendar. Of course, Thursday, December the 7th, the game time is 8 o'clock. So for those of you who might have youngins at home, put the youngins to bed.
Well, obviously there's a conflict. The question though is, Doug, when is your hockey game? Because I believe that's an 8 o'clock start, right?
It is an 8 o'clock start. So,
Doug might be able to come after.
Or I think Doug needs to reprioritize and thinks that a night out with Illegal Curve.
Doug, you have other guys on the team. I mean, you can run like 5 forwards, 4 defensemen. It's beer league. It's all good.
There you go. So join us Thursday, December 7th.
This game's at 10:40.
There's games at 10:40. Doug, you got plenty of time. Come join us. Have a drink.
The first period and a half.
Yeah,
I mean, the other question, Doug has to tell us where the game is. I mean, if it's at Charles Barber Arena versus if it's in the North End or something. If it's at Billy Mosienko Arena,
well, if it's the North End, and if it's at the North End, you won't be able to take the Arlington Bridge, unfortunately. So,
not safely, at least.
Well,
yeah, it's weird, guys. I decided to go for a walk this afternoon, and I halfway through the walk, I realized that half of the bridge was missing. So.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not for the record, that's not a laughing matter because that's the best route to get to my parents. It pisses me off. Arlington, the best set of lights, and now I can reveal my secret because it won't matter anymore.
They're sequenced,
but it's perfect from Arlington to Inkster. From Dufferin to Inkster. It is perfectly coordinated lights. Every light, you don't hit a red and then a green, and a red and a green. It is perfect. Unfortunately, I will no longer be able to take the Arlington route to my parents.
The most important thing to consider, though, is who's going to get Bailey a fake ID between now and December 7th. That's the real question at hand.
Fake ID, Drew. Well, she can just, as long as Amy comes with her, then it'll be fine.
Okay, maybe. I don't think
they're IDing.
Yeah, Bailey, we know people. We'll get you in.
There you go. So Thursday, December 7th, we're live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. Come watch the Jets and the Avs. Come have a few beverages. Come win some prizes. Come watch.
Ryan's coming. It's going to be huge.
There you go. It's going to be a party. Thursday, December 7th.
Place to be.
There you go. Jets win tonight 3-2 when we come back. More on the Jets victory. Some unfortunate Moose news given their result tonight. Dave will update us on that. Much more to come. It's what night is it? It's a Wednesday night. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. It rolls on.
We're going to the Palladium after this.
Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. We're back. It is Wednesday night. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on. The Jets defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2 earlier tonight. This courtesy of our friend Mike McIntyre. Jets 11-5-2 overall, 10-2-2 in the last 14, 4-0 in the last 4, second in the Central, fifth in the West, 8th in the NHL. So those are some stats that will certainly warm the cockles of Jets fans all throughout the world.
Matt cockles?
Well, if you have cockles, they are now warmed based on Mike's on Mike's tweet.
Well, speaking of warm, I know that Mike McIntyre is in Vegas right now. I'm not outing him, by the way. He's been sharing on social media, so I'm not sure if Mike tweeted that out from the pool or the casino, but hopefully Mike's having a great time down in Nevada.
Yes, thank you for that. Is indeed, but excellent results as of late for the Winnipeg Jets. And I think I saw somebody in the chat earlier tonight say there, it wasn't that long ago that when the Jets and the Oilers met on, that was a Saturday night game, if I'm not mistaken. But when the Jets and the Oilers played each other on that Saturday night, both teams were 1-3 entering that game. And the fortunes for the two teams have certainly gone in opposite directions since then, as the Jets succeed tonight, 11-5-2 now on the season. And the Oilers did not succeed tonight. They have not solved many of their problems.
You still think they're going to make the playoffs, Drew? Remember when you asked
I did say it.
Question?
You know what?
They ain't making the playoffs.
I don't know. I mean, it's still hard to believe
that they're 5-12 or something.
They're 5-12-1. They're 5-12-1, Ezzy.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's over.
You know what? I don't know. Can they have to play at about a 6? I think saw something like a 635, 650. I don't know if it was points percentage or winning percentage for the rest of the year, but in that division that they're in, if they can get hot, it's not. That's
the only reason I think there's a chance is because that is the worst division in hockey, probably.
I'm not willing to say it's a complete 0% chance. that they have no chance of doing it, but they certainly are continuing to dig themselves a significant hole.
They're just too bad defensively. Like the goaltending is one thing, but just defensively, like you can't give up 5 or 6 goals every game, and they've been doing that so many times this year. So I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, I mean, they're going to do what they do, but I until they get way better defensively, and obviously, Chris Knobloch has had no impact on that team at all.
Oh, maybe it wasn't the goal. Maybe it wasn't the coaching. Then maybe that wasn't the issue.
Exactly.
When you're down, look, it was 4-0 for Carolina 15 minutes into the game. It was over at that point in time. And then, Edmonton made the score look slightly more respectable at 6-3, but, it's 4-0, then 4-1, and then 5-1. So, Zach Hyman, and not to get too deep into the Oilers, because, nobody, I think there's a lot of Schadenfreude going on, which I totally understand.
More importantly, to quote Spency, what is this, Oilers lunch right now?
Look, but it just goes to show you what they are. So you start the game horribly. You're down 4-0. Zach Hyman scores late in the first period to make it 4-1. Okay, maybe you've come out, you use that goal as momentum to get you going in the second period. Stranger things have happened. What happens to start the second period? Well, Martin Neckash scores 2 minutes into the period.
Hold on, for the record. He didn't just score. The Oilers abdicated all responsibility for playing defense because he was a man on an island surrounded by Oilers, and not a one was interested in taking him in front of the net. So It was bad defense.
It was bad defense indeed. And then, boom, done. 5-1 at that point. Nothing else matters in that game as they all go on to the Hurricanes defeat the Oilers 6-3. Another fun game.
Yeah, are you going to talk about the Blues Coyotes?
That's what I was going to say.
There's a minute left in the second period.
The second period hasn't ended in Arizona yet. It's currently 5-5 between the Blues and the Coyotes. So, two teams that aren't really going anywhere. It wouldn't shock me if one of those teams ended up as a playoff team just because 8 teams need to make it out of the West. But the Blues and the Coyotes are certainly now putting on a defensive spectacle. 5-5 with still about 21 minutes to go in that game. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Another team that's getting scored on a lot, unfortunately, is the Manitoba Moose. Get into it with the Minute Moose Minute.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minute Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Well, there's not much to report because I unfortunately was watching. I was fortunately watching the Jets game. Tried watching the Moose game, and that was a painful experience. No Declan Chisholm. He is out with illness, so even though he's on a conditioning assignment, he was not in the lineup. The Moose had started, even though they had lost 4 straight in Winnipeg during that homestand, they had started this road trip with that really tough 3 games in 3 days. Belleville, the first one, the last 2 in Toronto, and they went 2-3, got hammered in Toronto on Saturday, came back, had a gutsy effort after playing 3 games in 3 days and beat the Marlies 4-2 on Sunday, and then traveled to Rockford, had a skate yesterday, and then it was interesting. Jeff Malott and Brad Lambert had a really good chance when it was 0-0 to open the scoring. They didn't. Shortly thereafter, the Rockford IceHogs scored 3 goals in about 6 minutes, take a 3-0 lead. And then, when I started to really focus on the Jets more than the Moose at that point, still paying attention to the Moose, but really I saw again, they scored 2 more quick goals to start the second period. So things weren't going well for the Manitoba Moose. They were down 5-0. I did notice though, and like I said, I was actually cutting those videos, so I'll be tweeting them out. Don't you worry, very shortly. But Nikita Chibrikov, he scored 2 more goals. So he is on a bit of a heater, the 2021 second rounder of the Winnipeg Jets. And so he is, he's been on fire of late. And so that's one positive that you can take. But I haven't watched the game enough today to really know what went wrong for the Moose, other than it seemed like every shot for Rockford went in. And Rockford has had the Moose's number this year. That's their 3rd win in 3 attempts playing against the IceHogs. So the Moose, I believe, head out to Chicago next, usually, or Milwaukee. I don't know entirely, but they'll have a weekend series coming up, and then they'll be back in Winnipeg. And when they're back in Winnipeg, we'll have some tickets to give away. So nothing great about the Moose other than, like I said, 2 goals for Nikita Chibrikov. So that's a good thing for him. 1 goal, Ezzy, we got to talk about, though. We saw him in Winnipeg on was it Friday when the Buffalo Sabres were in town?
Oh man, what
fans in Winnipeg who watched the ice saw him from 2 of the 3 years he was in junior, because obviously 1 year he was in the bubble. But Zach Benson, the 13th overall pick in 2023, if you didn't see his goal, and I'm sure you did, but if you didn't see his goal, make sure you check, because it was spectacular. And you know,
for the record, we would put it up, but I'm pretty sure that it would be a copyright violation, even if we put up the Twitter feed version of it.
Doesn't make a difference. Yeah. You'll find it after. But all I was going to say is,
yeah, Drew, we don't want any cease and desist orders.
But
we already have many of those.
For the record, I actually put that out yesterday because someone was stealing our images. So I actually had that happen.
You put out the highlight of Matt Savoy's, of Zach Benson's goal yesterday.
I think he said he's put out a cease and desist order to somebody.
For someone who was misusing IC images.
Oh, yeah, Dave doesn't like that.
No, I did not like that. And I know these images. I posted them. I know Colby and Alex's photos like the back of my hand. There's no issues there. So anyways, but no, if you didn't see it, just check this out. This kid is unbelievable. And it's funny because another kid scored his first goal in the game. But it was funny because that one went off of him and into the net. Now, look, it's the NHL. He's happy that he scored it. But Zach Benson scoring that as his first goal, I suspect what we'll see from SportsCenter is, whether that's the top, not necessarily of all time, but it has to be up there in terms of, the first goal that the kid scores in the NHL, because it was a spectacular goal. And so kudos to him. He's a really good kid, and he's a really, really talented kid. Had a lot of good things to say about Winnipeg when he was in town with the Sabres. So, the Sabres have a good one with him, and he's obviously still junior eligible, as he. But it seems like he might be sticking around. So good for him for getting his first goal.
Certainly was an incredible goal for him to help the Buffalo Sabres tonight. One final thing before we wrap up the post-game show. It's courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Mr. Ginsburg, who's getting the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment tonight?
Lots of good comments. We had, I think, at one point close to 350 people watching live. It's dipped a little bit, but that's probably because we've been a little bit incoherent for the last 5 to 10 minutes. But we're going to give it to Perry William Cousin. I like this comment. I love the fact that Winnipeg is using high pressure puck side attack defense. It's what's the best NHL teams do. Reduces injuries, blocking shots, and we talked about that earlier. The importance of having Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti healthy. And obviously, Gabe Vilardi is going to come back in the next week to 2 weeks. I guess, people are speculating that, he might play against the Nashville Predators on Sunday. I wouldn't hold my breath. I think it's more likely that, I think you guys would agree that's more likely Vilardi comes back when the Jets are back home. But we'll see. I mean, he is on the road trip.
It's any game now, so it's not too far from now, which is going to be such a boon to the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks it's going to happen Friday night, but I think that Sunday game, I'm just speculating at this point. So he could play, but I think the point that I liked here that Perry made is the high pressure, puck side attack defense, right? And it's kind of like, the Jets and Lightning, we talked about, this was back and forth, two really speedy, skilled teams, but they play very similar systems, right? And so so a lot of times it's one-on-one battles, board battles. There wasn't a lot of, I guess, room out there if you want to use that tired cliche, right? So Perry, send me an email, Ezra, EZRA, @illegalcurve.com with your mailing address, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you.
And looks like it's Perry's birthday coming up in a couple days. So there you go. Nice. A birthday gift from us, courtesy from us to you, Perry. Courtesy
Perry, you got to tell us what you're doing for your birthday, though.
Perry's in Edmonton.
Are you going to celebrate? Oh, is he?
Yeah, Perry's in Edmonton. Well, he's a former Manitoban living in Edmonton. So
nice. Well, Tough Duck will ship out to Alberta.
Hold on. Uno momento. Whew.
Okay.
Birthday's got Dave. I'm thinking. One second. Thank you, Ezra, for picking Perry. 1 second. Un momento. Brian Hawryluk, sorry, is a huge fan of Illegal Curve. He's turning 50 tomorrow. So his wife, Charlene, asked if we would give him a birthday shout out. And I was responding to her emails, but I'm not so sure Charlene was getting my responses. So I wanted to.
Well, you can tell Charlene that we're not going to be giving that birthday shout out.
Well, I'm not certain as to when. All I asked her was,
joking.
I said we have a game on the 22nd. We have a game on the 25th, 24th. So I'm like, that's his birthday smack dab in the middle. Would you rather it be before or after?
Always early. Early better than belated.
Well, that's what I figured. So that's why when you
I agree. I hate to agree with Drew, but I'm right. Like, is there anything worse than when someone says happy belated birthday?
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to remember that it was your birthday until I saw it on probably your Instagram or social media feed. So I thought I'd send you a message saying happy belated birthday because I'm really not, I don't really care that much.
Don't give me a belated happy birthday. If anything, just don't say anything to me. Right? Like, that's my philosophy with you. I would rather you just don't acknowledge my existence than give me a happy belated birthday. Like Drew does every year. Never wishes me a happy birthday. Let's keep it that way.
Look, I tell all my closest friends. I tell everybody. I love you dearly.
Drew and I are not part of that equation.
No. This includes you guys too. I love you dearly. I care for you. I care about your well-being. I care about everything that's going on in your life. I'm not good with birthdays. I'm not good with remembering birthdays. I'm not good with acknowledging birthdays. That doesn't mean that I think any less of you as a human being. You're still incredibly special to me, but odds are I'm not going to acknowledge your birthday.
Okay, Drew, as long as you remember your kid's birthday and Laura's birthday and your mom's birthday, I could throw in Sheldon, but no, I'm joking, obviously. As long as you remember your family and your close friends' birthdays, I think that's all that really matters. Like how can you keep track of all the birthdays, right?
Well, we're hey, here at Illegal Curve, we're keeping track of Brian Howerlick's birthday. So
happy birthday to Brian. Happy early birthday. We're not going to give Brian a happy belated birthday.
No,
you either give him a happy birthday on his actual birthday or early. I'm with Drew.
Well, I was actually thinking about sending you to Brian's 50th birthday party as the special guest.
Jumping out of a cake?
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. We offered one of those novelty cakes. Charlene said no, that's not something she was interested in. But happy 50th birthday to Brian. We hope you have a great birthday. Many, many more from us at Illegal Curve. And thank you for supporting us here on our channel. We really appreciate it. And of course, on the website, illegalcurve.com.
I'll say this much, Dave. I will jump out of the cake for Brian's 50th birthday if Spency joins me in the cake.
Oh, I'm not sure.
And we're actually going to be eating. We're going to be eating the cake as we're in the cake.
We want Brian to make it to his 51st birthday, though.
By the way, what he didn't tell you is in Seagram thongs. Anyway, so let's just quickly get back to there's another question. We're going to answer it before the end of the night. Roger says, where can we buy Illegal Curve Farmery beer, IC beer?
That is a great question, Roger.
Can raises. Roger, the answer to that question is number 2, Donald Street, right near the Midtown Car Wash. There is a
Farmery beer outlet, a retail location.
The retail location for Farmery, and that's where you can buy your IC beer. So go there.
Dave, you can also mention the code. We have a code. We have a promo code.
We do.
Yes,
we do. But it's the number. I have to look it up in the email.
It's IC beer 10 off.
There we go.
That's online.
I should know,
Dave.
I should know that. As you remember that.
When there is a code to save me $10 off a 12-pack of beer, I memorize that code.
Is it a 12-pack
I have actually written it on the back of my hand.
Is it $10 off? It's a 12-pack?
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. So there's the code, and I think it's on our Instagram if I'm not mistaken as well.
At some point.
Yeah. Okay. So check it out. If you,
I was going to mention too, farmery.ca. You can order beer online.
Tell Perry it's on this. Well, Perry, you're in Edmonton, but it's on the south side of the river, not the north side.
That's correct. It would be on the south side of the
near Midtown.
Assiniboine. Next time you're in Winnipeg,
it's on the west side of the Red.
The Arlington Bridge next time you're in
Winnipeg. Don't take the Arlington, Perry.
Yes. And I will mention, with all the talk about birthdays, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club are home of the birthday club. So if you're looking for a place to celebrate your birthday from 5 days before to 5 days after the actual birthday with a party of 4 or more people, the birthday person is in as Rumors guest and everyone else is in for half price. So you can find out more information about the Rumors Birthday Club. RumorsComedyClub.com has all the information about everything to do with
By the way, Drew, sorry that I keep calling Rumors and asking to have my birthday party 6 days before my actual birthday.
And on that note, we want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. We mentioned Rumors. We mentioned, of course, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, What do you? Oh, you're telling me Frosty, needs to
Frosty.
get it up on the state on the
There you
site. Betway, they're the title sponsor of the post game show. Tough Duck, we gave away the toque. Boston Pizza, December the 7th. There he goes. December the 7th, you'll be there. Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue will be there. Jets Avalanche live post game. It's a Hanukkah party extravaganza. Celebrate the holiday season with us at Illegal Curve on Thursday, December the 7th. Our friends at Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and of course, Farmery Beer support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. Dave and Ezzy will be back on Friday night to bring you coverage of the Jets and the Panthers. Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show back here at 9 a.m. It's going to be a great one. If you're celebrating U.S. Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving tomorrow, we wish you all the best on the holiday and to enjoy the turkey and the football and the trip to fame.
Wobble, gobble, gobble.
There you go. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. If you've ever seen that WKRP in Cincinnati episode, you'll know what I'm talking about.
45 years ago, Drew.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you Friday night. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.